Welcome back to Math 103. This is video number 11 on fair division. There's more than one way to complete the distribution stage of this lone divider example. We certainly need to give S1 to Fred, the divider, because only Fred is bidding for it. Only Fred will accept it. Notice that the divider will accept any of those shares because the divider created them. Right? So there's no such thing as a share that nobody wants. Any share is wanted at any rate by the divider. Furthermore, we should really be giving S3 to Gail because it's the only thing she can live with. Now, what if someone else only wanted S3 and nothing else? That's a situation we'll come back to later. So that's not the situation here. We can give Gail S3 and she'll be happy. We can give Eve S2, for example, and she'll be happy. We can give Hank S4, he'll be happy or happy enough. And great, that is a fair division right there. Each player is getting a fair share from his or her bid list. The next example presents the information a little bit differently, and it does not use monetary values. So here we now have 5 siblings, Alex, Chris, Jordan, Pat, and Sam, who use the lone divider method to find a fair division of a piece of land they have inherited. A divider is chosen at random, who marks off 5 equally valuable regions, right? There are 5 siblings, and therefore there need to be 5 shares marked off. And as usual, we will denote those regions, those shares, S1 through S5. At the bidding stage, the players go through and consider how valuable each share is as a percentage of the value of the entire estate. So that means that the information here is recorded as percentages rather than points or dollars, and this actually is all the information we'll need to figure out how to proceed. So first, we can ask which sibling was the divider, and how can you tell? And we can proceed to ask for each sibling, what is his or her bid list? What is the list of shares that that player considers fair shares? Please pause the video for a moment and see if you can figure out the answers to these. Who was the divider? Well, it must have been Pat, because only Pat values all 5 shares equally. Now notice that if there are 5 siblings and therefore 5 shares, each share must be worth, from the divider's point of view, 1/5 of the value of the whole, and that means 20%. 1/5 is 20%. So Pat must have been the divider. No one else values each share at exactly 20% of the value of the whole estate. As for bid lists, well, Pat values everything equally and considers each share to be a fair share. For the other players, notice that 20% is going to be the threshold for fairness for all of them. Right? It doesn't matter, because of the way the information is given here, it doesn't matter if it turns out that Alex thinks the whole piece of land is worth $10 million and Chris thinks it's only worth $100,000. What matters are just the percentages. Any share that's worth 20% of the whole estate or more is therefore worth 1/5 or more, and therefore is a fair share. Anything worth less than 1/5 of the value of the whole estate is not a fair share for that player. Okay? So according to Alex, S1 is not quite a fair share, S2 is not quite worth enough, S3, S4 similarly, but S5 is a fair share. It is worth at least 1/5 the value of the whole estate. Okay? So similarly for Chris, it's S2 and S3, which meet that 20% threshold, but not the other shares. For Jordan, it's S2, S3, S4. Notice, by the way, that for Jordan, exactly 20% is good enough. Jordan would rather get S3, but S2 would be a fair share. And finally, Sam values S1 and S3 and S5 highly enough to be fair shares, but not S2 or S4. So in the end, at the distribution stage, who gets which share? Well, there are different ways of doing this, and one such way is indicated here. So for certain, Alex needs to get S5, because nothing else will do for Alex. But beyond that, there's actually quite a bit of freedom in assigning who gets which share. And from the point of view of our notion of fairness, we are not worried about maximizing happiness. We are worried about minimizing lawsuits. We are worried about making sure that no one gets overtly shortchanged. So all we need to do to produce a fair division, in our sense of the term fair division, is just make sure that everyone gets one share from their bid list. Okay, that's achieved here, but this is not the only way to do it. So before going on to the next video, find at least one more way to distribute the shares in order to produce a fair division.